Bomb lecture. Oh, where? What? There we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Who is the Red Queen, a Yuri horror visual novel. So, I'm starting the stream off with content warnings up above the video. These are the ones given by the game itself when you first launch it. So, yeah. Be safe out there if you need to duck out because any of these are things that you would not be able to handle in your current state of mind. Just go ahead and bow out if you need to. I don't want you putting me before your mental health and safety. Okay? Now. Anyway. Sorry. I love getting distracted from what I was saying right when it feels like I should have been wrapping up what I was saying and not knowing where to go next. Anyway, I think I said all the important preamble. Let's
dive in.
Yeah. Since it's Wednesday, Toga is here and he may be a cutie boy and comment.
Correlation is not equal to causation.
I descended through a starry sky. My long blonde hair and red cape flew wildly as I looked to the ground below me with my blue eyes. Falling, falling, falling. I was falling. Down this rabbit hole with no start nor end, I was falling. Where had I gone? Where could I go? As if I were forgetting something very important, I fell down, down, and down through a sparkling, shining darkness. Too bright to be dark, too dark to be bright. I must have been chasing after someone, after something. Like a girl whose curiosity was piqued by a rabbit with a watch, I was falling, falling, falling. Down, down, down. Again. Again.
Again. You're falling.
Yeah, this repetition is starting to remind me a bit of, oh shoot. I've mentioned him on stream before. What's his name? The guy behind the Dark Knight comics.
My brain just went to Greg Berger. I was like, no, Grimlock didn't write Batman.
Whatever. If any of y'all know, like, The Dark Knight, or, heaven forbid, Holy Terror, or All-Star Batman and Robin, that's the dude I'm thinking of. This endless well seemed to lead everywhere yet nowhere at once. Either the hole extended very deep or I descended very slow. Was I truly even going downward? Perhaps this was all a dream, a fever dream, or in more words, a fantasy that would be as soon forgotten as it was had. I held just one certainty. I was Alice. Alice was me. Now then, just how long was I supposed to keep falling? The air brushed past my fingers, my cloak ruffling upward. A quiet humming breeze caressed my cheek. As if I could hear someone's voice, a pleasant voice, a woman's voice. I strained my ears for whispers in the wind. Alice, what a time of madness! Without a bit of fear or vertigo, should you not have focused on topics more pressing? Like the darkness or the light, or how you couldn't awaken from this dream. But even now, you were just falling, falling, falling. What does it matter? With a thump thump, I came upon soft grass, and the fall was over. Not a bit hurt, I forced myself to my feet. Up above my head, the firmament whence I fell had not a tear in its blue canvas. Down about my eyes, only familiar, unfamiliar surrounded me. I started on an exploratory scroll. Sorry, that question hit me out of left field. That's a good question. I really like Venom, but like... that seems like kind of a torturous existence. Like... Brock is just... like... at war with the symbiote half the time. Sometimes literally. Yeah, depending on the version of Venom. I'm of a couple of different opinions on Magneto, depending on who's writing him. Because, like, some versions are deep and interesting, and others are... he's a Holocaust survivor who is acting suspiciously similar to Adolf Hitler. You know? Anyways. I don't know what I would do with Venom's powers if I had them. Besides, probably lose the mental battle against the symbiote. Ooh, Dr. Octopus, that's a good choice. You know, the whole going insane thing was more of a movie thing, to my knowledge. I'm pretty sure in the comics and a lot of different continuities, it's just that the Doc was already a bit of a criminally inclined sort, just didn't have the means for it before then. Hydra's an organization. Unless there's a character by that name that I don't know about. Anyways. The Spider-Man 2 version. Yeah. I love that trilogy. They're a lot better than I gave them credit for at the time. I was way too hard on those movies back in the day. And I just noticed I'm... There we go. There we go. slightly too close to the camera. Excuse me. Now, where were we? I started an exploratory stroll. Soon I stumbled upon a rabbit who looked like a girl, or a girl who looked like a rabbit. It was the correct answer that she was both a girl and a rabbit. She had white hair and floppy rabbit ears, pale skin and purple eyes. Her hair was tied into 2 low ponytails by white ribbons, a clock pin adorning her bangs. She wore gloves, an oversized blue coat with golden accents, and a red vest. Over it, a dress shirt with a black ribbon. She also had tacky pants tucked into boots. Sorry, the khaki kind of is jarring compared to the rest of her attire. I don't tend to associate khaki with this sort of fashion style, I suppose. Also, for some reason, it's not showing the game's cursor, which is a larger version of the default arrow cursor, but it's a deep, almost blood red, kind of like about partway down the red vest, and with little drops coming off of it, which give the impression of blood. I suppose that makes sense. She looked quite scared as she stood in the forest clearing. She was even holding her hands to her chest. Not lingering much longer on the species of the rabbit before me, I called out to her. "Excuse me." Calling out to her caused her to jump. Where was this place? Why was I here? How could I leave to return home? I thought of what to ask her, but she recognized me as soon as I spoke, so my questions were lost in my mouth unasked. She looked to me with troubled eyes. "Alice? White Rabbit? Have you seen Her Majesty? Do you know where she's gone? Where could she go?" "Her Majesty, the Red Queen, she must be taking a vacation of sorts. I only wish that she could have left this little rabbit a note. I'm in a bit of a panic, you see. The land can't run without its queen." She then took on a distracted look. "Please let me know if you catch sight of her." I nodded. Who this Red Queen was, I had not a clue, but a tingling deja vu. Still, my acceptance of the request let the White Rabbit breathe out a sigh of relief. Just as I prepared to pose my own questions, she straightened her back in surprise. "I'm afraid I have to go. I'm going to be late." The White Rabbit dashed off. I wanted to ask some questions. Never mind that. Follow her, Alice. Although I chased after her with only a moment's pause, when I turned a corner, she was nowhere to be seen. There was only a forest path before me. I found myself in a garden meticulously kept. There was a large white gazebo in the center with a table and chairs for tea. Tailing the rabbit, I barely dashed a few paces. I hadn't realized such a place was so close by. Rather, I hadn't realized I had run this far. A conjecture tickled my mind that this world I fell into was a magical place, one with paths that pointed to one way but twisted to another. What an explanation, much more far-fetched than me just not knowing where I was running. I took a moment to catch my breath. Glancing around, I began my walk about the garden. Flowers and greenery all around, but not a person in sight. This place was beautiful. I wanted to meet the person who made it. Not quite a gardening person myself, I still appreciated a pretty place and felt a swelling excitement to explore what sights could be seen. A reminder of reality then dampened my joyful curiosity. I wanted some answers a way out and back home. As pleasant as dreams were, one had to be able to awaken from them before they turned into nightmares. Whether this was a dream or reality had still yet to be seen. Step, step, I walked around. Hop, hop, I peered over the bushes. Soon enough I discovered the heart of the garden where one might sit for tea. I spotted a white-haired girl in the garden.
And I spied her. Life in spat.
To amend my previous thoughts, wouldn't it be right to say that I rather also appreciated a pretty person? Her hair was long and reached her shoulders, her skin pale and her eyes a light blue. She was also adorned with a regal blue and white dress that was so long it hid her feet. So, something I forgot to mention earlier. This italicized text is something you have to turn on in the menu before it starts showing up. There was something like this in Heart of the Woods as well. It's just, optional descriptors in case, you've got someone who's a bit visually impaired and who's playing with another of the options. Self-voicing.
Self-voicing enabled.
We will not be
self-voicing selected.
We will not be using self-voicing.
Self-voicing disabled.
Thank you, game. They also help if you're not good at picking up, subtle emotional differences. Like, say, if you're autistic like I am. And also, they're just bits of game description that you don't get by default. And I like getting stuff like that. Anyways, her expression was quite distant and calm. I noticed bandages wrapped upon her right hand, which was gently clasped over her left in front of her. Frivolous thoughts flew from my mind as our eyes met. Her gaze seemed to beckon me over, so over I went to speak with her. She opened her mouth to speak. Are you enjoying the garden? The garden is beautiful. The gardener will be happy to hear that from you. However, if you've come here now, you should be searching for something. We should first introduce ourselves. She gave me a sad smile. I am the White Queen. Just like with the rabbit, for reasons unclear to me, I already knew who she was. Here, that should be as good as a name. Your Majesty, my name is Alice. She frowned. Don't stand on ceremony, Alice. I am not someone you need to speak with particularly respectfully. Welcome to my garden in Wonderland. That sad smile returned to her face. Wonderland, I tasted the word on my tongue. I can't remember why or how I'm here. Not this garden, but Wonderland. Once again she frowned. I was falling, and I couldn't remember why I was falling. I was simply falling until I felt no more. I'm sure I've forgotten something very important. That pained smile returned. You needed to force yourself to remember. Some things are better left forgotten. Perhaps it was fated for you to come here. Perhaps something is missing that you must find. This world must appear like a place of dreams. You should find the Red Queen. The missing queen whom the White Rabbit mentioned was the Red Queen. Then came a troubled look. I waited for the White Queen to continue. She hesitated to speak of the Red Queen, as if the elusive royal would appear like a ghost behind her as she spoke. I tried to imagine what sort of person the Red Queen was. She will let you return to your own reality. When you meet her, you should be able to find all of the answers you are seeking for. As for where she is, that is for you to discover. Do you dislike her? At first, she pursed her lips, as if troubled again. But then came that same somber smile. That's a difficult question, Alice. So she's like that. I'll let you judge the Red Queen. You might learn something new about yourself. Shall I head off to find her now? Her face lit up a bit. Why not stay for some tea? Of course I'd love to, but it's not quite afternoon tea time yet. She smiled, this time much happier. A later time, then. Certainly to have tea outside of tea time wouldn't do. That smile softened into a fond one as she lowered her lids. I won't keep you for too much longer, Alice. I'm sure you will be able to find that person soon enough. Until later. Later. I waved goodbye to the White Queen and departed from her garden. Glancing back, I saw her gaze linger upon me. That poor smile of hers had turned somber again. Ooh, music name notifications. That was something I liked about Heart of the Woods, too. I stepped onto a twisting path in the forest. I didn't know which way to go to find the elusive Red Queen, turning left and right. To find a queen, I thought to seek a castle. Logically. However, the rabbit said the queen was missing, so unless the rabbit had also forgotten something very important, the queen shouldn't have been at the castle. The Red Queen, she seemed like a troubling person. The way the White Queen's face froze, tongue stuttering along at the topic of the Red Queen, made me wonder. Was the latter queen a tyrant or a fool? The tutor at home liked to talk about kingship of that sort. To me, either or neither were fine. After all, who were the peasantry to affect the mood of a high queen? hummed and walked along with a skip in my step. Just as I reached a rhythm in my stride, I kicked a little something, animal, that threw me off my beat. I slowed to applaud, my mood a note dampened. Soon I heard the chatter of a girl a few trees away. Seeing not much civilization here in the forest, I followed the voice of the girl. Although she was chatting, I heard her voice alone. I passed by a few bushes and soon enough found a tea party in the middle of nowhere. At a table set before a tree sat the girl. The white-clothed table was littered with all sorts of tea-time things, from a tower with cookies and cupcakes, a rubber duck, and a cake with knives in it, pitchers with dozens of tea bags, and stacks of dishes. In the center, there was even laid a green vase with a dead, plucked-apart red rose beside it. Some petals sat in the water. The girl had long pink hair with uneven side bangs, pale skin. First eye red and second yellow. A smile was on her features that contrasted with her eye bags. Her outfit was just as chaotic as the table. Under her black trench coat was a loose dress shirt tied with a large purple ribbon. She also wore checkerboard purple pants and white lace-up shoes. On her gloved hands sat two hand puppets, a white hare with a yellow straw hat and a red bow tie, and a gray dormouse with a little pink flower perched by her ear. The most glaring of all was her large black top hat, wrapped haphazardly in purple ribbons with a piece of paper taped to it. "Hello there, Alice. What did you come here for?" Her chatter ceased. Her mismatched eyes pierced through me in its place. I noticed a little fang in her mouth as she opened it. "There's no room at the table, so don't take a seat." "No room, no room." The girl gave a wide grin, as she was wont to do frequently. In fact, it was rare to see the smile wiped off her face. She moved the puppets on her hand, a sleepy mouse and a mad hare. Looking right to left, I could barely see the ends of the table set. Excellent, clicked. I could barely see the ends of the table set for tea. One person in such a large space, conversely, she seemed almost lonely. "There's plenty of room, Hatter." Her smile shrunk a bit. To make my point, I took a seat in a large armchair across from the Hatter. The chair stunk of flowers, as if to clear away the shadow of an unpleasant previous sitter. I sank back into it comfortably. Then I kept sinking before I jolted back up with a shallow gasp. "Three's plenty a crowd. That's rude of you to say, Alice. Not very civil of you to sit down without being invited either." She granted me a cheeky grin and a wink. "But whatever, let's just treat you as our extra guest for tomorrow." "Not today? Are they the same? Yesterday, today, tomorrow. Every day is never a day different, but since I'd rather not deal with it today, we just treat it as for tomorrow." "Dormouse and March don't mind?" "You mentioned three, but I only see one." She wiggled the puppets on her hands as if to explain everything. 1 was herself, 2 was the first puppet, 3 was the second. I'm scared Alice might be blind. Her mad smile became a mad grin once more. That's a side effect of being Alice. Don't worry, it's just a side effect of being Alice. She sneered. The pitch of her voice warped. Don't mind their comments. She is Dormouse, and he is Machair. She paused as if waiting for me to greet the animal puppets. I waited. She waited.
Dormouse waited. We killed the Dormouse. It was a great time.
Her smile did not falter. In fact, it only widened in anticipation. The silence of the conversation bored me, so I relented to the Mad Hatter's wordless request. I was their guest for tomorrow, so a polite guest I decided to be. Well, hello there. Her smile became ordinary again. I was scared she was deaf as well. Hello there, Alice. It seemed whenever she made the puppets talk, she often took on a more neutral expression and kept her mouth closed like a ventriloquist. Between the puppets, I preferred the Dormouse. If a puppet could fall asleep, she looked as if she was about to do so. I felt some pity, as that meant the March Hare would speak more. Oh, this is delightful. What were we talking about before? A riddle? Maybe it was this one. Why is a raven like a writing desk? Do you have an answer to that riddle? You're no fun, Alice. Relax and have some wine. There is no wine. You were invited for tea tomorrow, Alice. It's the obligation of the host to offer a guest a drink at tea time. Maybe she was an alcoholic. Hatter, I can't in good faith call this time of day tea time, nor can I call alcohol tea. Details. Add some butter. It'll be tea time eventually, so it's tea time now. We're having tea, so it might as well be tea time, don't you think? What did you come here for, anyways? Although I couldn't quite say that I come to this tea party with a goal in mind, I figured I might as well tell her. I'm searching for the Red Queen. Her brow contorted as she took a sip of her tea. Puppet sat down for just that moment. Dumping the tea away and rinsing the cup, she poured herself another drink. Her mismatched eyes narrowed. I feel slightly attacked because I keep seeing other designs that have heterochromia iridis, where one of the eyes is red.
You could just say heterochromia.
But heterochromia can also apply to hair and other things. Also, I like the term heterochromia iridis. It has nice mouthfeel. Oh, her. The Hatter placed her lip to the rim of her teacup and stared at me. A minute passed, all 60 seconds consisting of staring, before she ducked down under the table as if to find an item and popped back up again. Shh. Her expression was back to its usual state. Stay and chat for a moment. I'll help you with a little something regarding Her Majesty. The Hatter poured me a cup of tea and slid over a plate of sandwiches. The Hatter's smile became wide. plate hurtled towards me, forcing me to hurriedly grab it lest sandwiches spill all over my lap. Luckily, the cup of tea arrived much more calmly. I took a taste, finding Earl Grey, ooh, my favorite. Like, legitimately, I really like Earl Grey. Is it tomorrow already? At the very least, it wasn't time for afternoon tea. If I had known I would have tea now, I would have stayed a little longer to have some tea with the White Queen as well. It was not that people couldn't have tea outside of afternoon tea, but it was the principle of things. Sorry, I just find it's the principle of a thing a very funny sentence, because I've seen it used in many comedic situations. Especially ones where it's really not the principle of the thing. If people drank tea any time of day, they would drink it all day. I sipped some more, enjoying the citrusy flavor of this black tea. Today is tomorrow for yesterday, don't you think? Absolutely. At least she doesn't think. That would have been rude of you to ask. She's just normal. Orthogonal? I'm certainly sitting up quite straight. But regarding the Red Queen, do you have some news about her? I'd say I have some business with her instead. Something to do with meat and flesh and all the other red things that a Red Queen might have to do with. That's a little upsetting. But then we can see the content warnings. Aren't you a hatter? She grinned widely. Yes? Not a butcher? Unless your meat is made out of hat. While talking about all things unappetizing, I took a bite of sandwich filled with an ambiguous color. A milky sweetness melted in my mouth. I tasted some of the fruit inside. Maybe it was mango or kiwi or strawberry. Ooh, I love all three of those flavors. Satisfied with the pleasant sweetness, I took another kip of tea. Another sip of tea. This tea and these sandwiches are delicious. Thank you, Alice. Any of them compliments to you, then. The Hatter grinned with a wink. Wow, such flattery. Since you put me in a good mood, I guess we can go ahead with Her Majesty's matter. She smiled as if laughing. In fact, she's been sitting here with us the whole time. I sat up even straighter in confusion. Glancing around, I saw no queens in sight, not a human nor animal besides the two of us here. Oh no. The Hatter rolled a chair over and pulled a cloth off from over the chair's holdings.
Possible warning.
Ta-da! Yeah, content warnings on the screen are active now. Nausea ran up my spine. On the chair sat a chunk of meat dressed up in tattered human clothes. Still dripping red, flesh seemed to ripple, undulating. Was it rotting, or was it still alive? My head spun as I squinted at the thing. This meat, No, this thing resembled a human torso, with half a neck, chopped off limbs, dolled up with what could have been fancy clothes. This was surely human flesh. I sensed an odd familiarity to the torso, but also felt as if I was looking at it from an incorrect angle. This was the torso of a regal woman. This was raw human flesh. This is the Red Queen. The Hatter's eyes narrowed again, brows furrowed, but still smiling. An inappropriate question flitted across my mind. Could we consider it as sitting if it didn't have legs? I suppose yes. I thought you said you weren't a butcher, Hatter. We definitely couldn't consider this a hat. Having just eaten, the strawberry taste in my mouth turned to a meaty texture like raw pork. I could almost taste sweet, rotten fat. I swallowed. Her expression returned to normal. I wondered if the Hatter wanted to make me sick. The Hatter gave a wide smile. Yes, I'm a Hatter. I closed my eyes and rubbed the bridge of my nose. Too distracted by the surprise, the feelings of my fingers almost felt like wet ground meat, even though I was sure that my digits were still attached to my palm. The image lingered uncomfortable behind my eyelids, not with disgust, but with another inexplicable emotion, a negative one for sure. I looked at the torso again, and it seemed so still. I saw exposed bone and a scattered trachea. The cut must not have been wholly clean, made with a blade sharpened not quite enough yet, also dulled not quite enough. Yes, this was the Red Queen. I knew not why I knew, but a voice in the back of my head told me that this was the Red Queen, a part of the Red Queen. I'm afraid Her Majesty can't speak right now. The Hatter stirred her tea and popped a bite-sized sandwich into her mouth, munching happily. She sneered. Don't look like that, Alice. The Hatter didn't dismember Her Majesty. Yes, yes, Hatter is innocent. Since only the Hatter spoke up in defense of herself, I wasn't particularly inclined to believe her, but whether or not she did kill the Red Queen, the end result sat before me. What should I do now? I murmured my uncertainty at this dead end aloud. She smiled as if nothing was wrong. What do you mean? All you have to do is find all the other pieces. If you have anything you need Her Majesty for, all you need to do is put her back together. Have you forgotten, Alice? That sounded mad. So mad I want to laugh. This is Wonderland, after all. All I needed to do was find the pieces. That was right, Alice. That was all you needed to do. It would either be terribly simple or terribly hard. I hoped that no one had fed the Red Queen to the pigs or minced her up for a patty. Regardless, all I really needed was a head and the torso if I wanted to talk to her, to ask her about the secrets to returning home. May I take the body with me? The Hatter narrowed her eyes. Alice, Alice, you were a civilized girl. Did you really want to lug around a piece of meat Like you were some meat seller? Selling to the cannibals? The Hatter winked cheekily. No, 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 that wouldn't be fair, don't you think? Once you find most of her parts, let's just say the limbs, I'll give you a special present and help you out again. She patted a box off to the side of the table. The box was just big enough for a cat or a cake, or maybe something like a hat. Of course, don't peek or try to find out what the present is. It wouldn't be a surprise like that, and I'll be very, very upset if you cheat. With that smile on her face, I couldn't see her upset. Only muddled sincerity came through her voice. The Hatter's mismatched eyes wandered, looking distracted as she did so. Now then, I've got to grab something off the stove before it burns. The Hatter got up from her seat and walked away. Here I was alone with the Red Queen's flesh. It was missing all 4 limbs and a head, so to make her whole, I would need to find 5 parts. I hoped that my search would be easy. Seeing as the Hatter was nowhere in sight, I contemplated a decision regarding that curious box on the table. Save at... Oh, Chapter 0! Oh no! Let's listen to her for now. I shook my head. Instead of antagonizing the Hatter needlessly, I decided to take another sip of tea. I would see what was inside the box eventually. The Hatter returned soon enough. Her puppets were absent. Rather, in her hand was a hammer, glowing bright with heat. She chucked it to the side with a thump, and let the metal sizzle on the ground. What was the hammer for? She grinned. Does a hammer need a reason to be? Anyways, go. Go ahead and try to find some of the Red Queen's body. An arm, a head, or maybe 2. Just bring them back here for me to attach to this. She pointed to the torso. It'll still be tea time when you come back. Let's just count you as an extra guest for the next tomorrow as well. To be exact with time, now was not tea time. I suppose there's not much else to do here. The Hatter's expression dampened a bit as I responded. I looked at my empty cup of Earl Grey and lifted myself up from the armchair. For what it was worth, I quite enjoyed this odd-hour tea. Checking my legs to make sure they hadn't fallen asleep, I started to leave. Until later. Auf Wiedersehen. That's the first time I've ever seen Auf Wiedersehen written out. I'm surprised I was able to piece together what it was just by looking at it. She leaned back into her chair and made a lazy wave my way. Somehow she... Whoa! I'm suddenly tiny! What the crap? What happened? I'm tiny! There we go. Yeah, that was weird.
Lean back.
Oh, it must have been because I looked back at you.
Oh, so it's my fault.
A little bit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Only a little. Somehow she looked lonely. I returned to another forest path, walking forward and forward. After moving for a while, I realized that I had no idea where I was going. In simpler words, I was lost. I walked around in a few circles before looking upward. Above, I saw a cat. A cat who resembled a girl who resembled a cat, leisurely stood on the tall branch of a tree. She had sharp, green-yellow eyes, pale skin, a cat-like smile. Ah, chartreuse. Her brown hair was tied up into a ponytail with an orange ribbon, her two cat ears on top of her head looking quite fluffy. Kitty. She wore an orange cape with 3 black stripes and a fluffy white collar, with a tattered, short black dress underneath. Adorned around her neck was a collar with a bell. Her one visible arm had a shackle around the wrist for her clawed hands. There appeared to be something like stitches at the point where her arm and shoulder connected. Unlike the white rabbit, this cat, the Cheshire Cat, I couldn't help but wonder if she was actually neither a cat nor a girl and was just pretending to be either. I met her cat eyes, nodding in silent greeting. A grin stretched across her face as she stared right back. Sharp teeth filled her mouth and claws adorned her hands. This was probably a cat. I gotta hand it to them. They're doing a really solid job of nailing the surreal descriptions and such. Like, this... This is really well done. Cheshire. The flame that was her tail flickered, and she hopped down to meet me closer. I don't suppose you'd tell me which way I should go. Her eyes narrowed in amusement. I posed a silly question that I expected no answer for. After all, I was asking a cat for directions. Depends on where you want to go. To my surprise, I received a response. Find the Red Queen. Ah, the crazy one. Are you sure you prefer not to go with a nice one? The one I'm searching for is the Red Queen. Alright, the Mad Queen. Then again, we're all mad around here. That is, except for Her Majesty the White Queen. She's too sad to be mad. If you're looking for the Red Queen, up, 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 or up, up, down, down, left, right might help. Fucking Konami code. Huh? The cat cheered. Self-awareness, Alice, self-awareness. The Cheshire Cat vanished into thin air. Soon enough, she reappeared. Just go to the White Queen instead. Maybe you'll find something on the way. She started to fade away again before popping back. I forgot to ask, how's the Hatter doing? She seems to be fine. It's still tea time over there. It's always tea time with that one. A third time she disappeared, leaving a grin lingering in the air before that too vanished. This was a grin without a cat instead of a cat without a grin. The third time was the charm. The cat did not return. I can't say I've seen a cat quite like that before. Then again, Cheshire wasn't really a cat. Walking a few tree lengths more, I mulled over the odd advice she gave. Do I go to find the White Queen, or do I go up, up, down, down, left, right?
Obviously, do the Konami Club.
Yeah! I tried to remember just what the Cheshire Cat had said, speaking the pattern of directions aloud to a beat. Up, up, down, down, left, right. I felt as if I had missed a few items, but that was all that the cat had given. I backtracked to the position where I met the cat and followed the recommended directions. Soon enough, I found myself at a crossroad. I saw no limbs nor heads in sight. Left was labeled right, right was labeled left. With wrongly written signboards, I chose at random on where to go next. Every few meters, I found a new signboard with its own quaintly marked arrow. Whether or not they led to the right place was another issue. I slowed my pace to read the signs and followed them along. Today is a rainy day. I didn't know which genius thought to put a forecast onto a wooden sign on the side of the road, but I followed the direction to go right regardless. The sky had not a drop of rain in sight. Warning, cliff ahead. As it happened, neither was there a cliff ahead. Watch out for dragons! I looked for the dragons, but the dragons did not arrive. Shameful. At some point, the text on the signs turned to insults. Fool. You don't even know who you are. Stop following these signs. How many of these will you read? I walked and walked and walked. At the end of the final sign in the chain, I reached a clearing in the forest where I spotted the white rabbit talking with a limb. She appeared a little frightened, or perhaps more concerned. Your Majesty's left arm, please. I blinked. Then I blinked again. Rubbing my eyes, I saw the same image. Yikes. The white rabbit seemed to just about prostrate herself to a living, moving arm. The arm, despite being an arm, had taken the higher position. The ground here is dirty. You needn't crawl here. Shall I take you back to the palace, or would you prefer to go to the garden or the courtroom? In fact, do you happen to know where Her Majesty is? The arm smacked the white rabbit. She frowned, brows burrowed. Although I silently observed, the arm noticed me and began to crawl over, one handful of grass at a time. It moved like a snake, like a worm, like a piece of flesh and bone that shouldn't have been able to move. Its writhing struggle sent a shiver up my spine. The white rabbit looked scared. I didn't know if I should pick it up or kick it away. I did neither, and it reached my feet. The arm proceeded to climb up my leg, up my cloak, clinging like some sort of dirty parasite, making its slow way up until I pushed past my building disgust to hold it in my hand instead. The flesh felt cold in my palm. I sensed no heartbeat at the wrist. Alice, Her Majesty's arm seems to have taken a liking to you. If you find Her Majesty, please return the limb to her and tell her that her rabbit did her best. I pray she hasn't met any trouble. A limb coming off isn't an everyday occurrence. She made quite the understatement. Yes, of course. How did you know it was the Red Queen's arm? The rabbit took on a happy, excited expression. I would recognize Her Majesty's limbs anywhere.
That's really creepy.
Do you admire her very much? Yes, of course. I respect Her Majesty very much. She united Wonderland into this kingdom and kept peace with a watchful gaze on the criminal populace. She is a decisive ruler and holds an agreeable worldview. This should be her divine right to rule Wonderland. I've heard a cat call her mad. A dangerous expression flashed through the white rabbit's eyes for barely a second. Her smile quickly became a frown. The Cheshire Cat is a known problem element here. Her expression became increasingly stressed. If Her Majesty is mad, then such madness is in essence brilliance. Although I may not always be fated to be a favored courier, to be an aid to her is my greatest honor. I cannot be White Rabbit without Her Majesty. Her smile returned. Yes, that should be how I view Her Majesty. I gave the rabbit's impromptu speech a short round of applause, balancing the detached arm in the crook of my elbow. The rabbit became flustered. She must also like you very much. All rulers had their dissidents and supporters. Sir Man once said that a ruler was better feared than loved if she could not be both. Despite all that the White Rabbit said, I knew little more about the Red Queen. The Red Queen is the ruler of all this land. What's your job, White Rabbit? Yes, she is the highest ruler of Wonderland. I deal with a little bit of everything. Administrative matters, legal matters, and personal matters of important people. Since we've met a few times, I could say that I'm important, couldn't I? That's right, Alice? Hmm? To my tepid jest, I received a response that made me pause. The White Rabbit took out a watch and jumped in surprise upon looking at the time, quickly returning the watch to her pocket. Is it this time already? I'm afraid I must be off again, if that will be all. Thank you, Alice. Hurriedly bowing a few times, she dashed off back to work. Having obtained one limb, I searched around for another. Excuse me. Before I knew it, the day passed. I looked onward toward the sky where the sun had begun to set. Letting out a yawn, I realized I needed a place to sleep for the night. I thought back to the parties who had helped me onto my adventure to gather the Red Queen's dismembered parts. Surely I could find one of them. Only got one option here. I headed back to the Hatter's place. The moonlight filtered through the trees and lit the table. The tea and cakes were all put away. As before, I found her at a table full of tea stuffs. She nursed a cup of tea and waved at me upon spotting me. Just in time for tea, Alice! From the sky, tea time should have already passed. Perhaps this was more like supper time, so I only flashed her a smile without saying anything. I've returned with a limb. Congratulations! She grinned. I handed her the Red Queen's limb, which began to move upon entering the Hatter's hand. Holding it away from herself, the Hatter seemed to think of what to do with it next. She kicked a dog cage out from under a chair. Clicking the metal hatch open, she tossed the limb into it, and quickly flitted the cage shut again. The Hatter sneered. Sit down, I'd be a poor host if I didn't let you sit. I plopped down into the armchair. This was my chair now.
I live here now.
I glanced around and found I didn't see the two puppets that the Hatter wore on her hands earlier in the day. Where are your friends? I gestured with my hands. They've gone home for a bit. Marge lives all the way over there in a house with ears. As for whose ears they are, I haven't a clue. Are you hungry for rodent salads? No. If you say so, Alice. She poured me a cup of tea and slid the tea, cup and saucer, over to me, nearly spilling it over my lap. Soon after came another plate. On the plate was steak and vegetables. For a brief moment, the Hatter appeared lonely. I should hope this isn't rodent, is it? She winked with a grin. It's something else. The Hatter didn't continue, but glanced over at the Red Queen's flesh. My eyes followed the path of her gaze, not spotting any steak-sized slabs of meat sliced off from the torso of the Queen I sought. I let out a sigh. Her eyes were narrowed. Taking a knife and fork, I cut the steak and moved a piece to my mouth. It tasted like beef. Compliments to the chef. She smiled. Why, thank you. We ate together. For a Hatter, her table manners with the forks and knives were impeccable, but each time I thought to compliment them, she went and said something odd again. The Hatter was a mystery to unravel. I don't have a place to stay for the night, so I wanted to ask if you would put up with me for the night. I put up with you all the time. What difference does night make? Where I come from, people sleep at night. Sleep? You can sleep underneath a table, or spread a blanket on the ground, or just sleep in that armchair you're sitting in now. Sleep just when you pretend to be dead like everyone else. And what is this why you don't sleep? The Hatter had terrible bags under her eyes. As I doubted she slept too much, she could only have been sleeping too little. She frowned upset. Look at the time. Is it really time to sleep? Napping at tea time will destroy your inner clock, don't you know? Morning, afternoon, evening, since it's all tea time, it's better not to sleep. I thought you didn't care about time. The Hatter sneered. Time doesn't care about me. Are you perhaps afraid of sleeping? She gave me a somber smile. What do you think, Alice? She poured herself a drink from a bottle into her teacup. I turned to look at the bottle, which was in no way for tea. I couldn't read the jumbled words scrawled across its label, so I couldn't help but ask. Is that actually alcohol? Tea. Isn't it alcohol? Tea. She drank her tea and I did mine. Conversation turned to silence. I shouldn't have pushed and upset my dear host. I wanted to pet her head and apologize, for she could drink or sleep as she wanted. As I reached out, the Hatter recoiled. There was a frown on her face. She pushed her chair back from the table, taking the chance to move away. Then she dipped underneath the tablecloth, rummaging through her stuff with a rustling noise. When she popped back out, she held a blanket, which she tossed my way. Her expression turned even more distraught, her frown wobbly. Didn't you want to pretend to be dead right now? Go, play dead. Catching it in my arms, I smelled a sweet scent from the soft blanket. The sky was dark. I started to feel sleepy. Hugging the blanket a little tighter. I had experienced a long day after all, so perhaps it was time to go to bed. Good night, Hatter. I wondered if she was mad, if she would respond, but she did. Good night, Alice. I leaned back comfortably in the armchair and began to sink. Sinking. Contrary to my earliest expectations, I didn't keep sinking forever. The moment I looked up at the sky, I found I couldn't sleep anymore. I didn't recognize the stars, the constellations that adorned the dark heavens. Tracing their infinite sparkles, I wondered who they stood for. I wanted to understand what was hidden past those mismatched eyes of the Hatter. While counting the stars, I eventually fell asleep. I dreamed of falling. The next day and the day after, I continued my search for the Red Queen's parts. Once again, I was walking down the forest path. Excuse me. Remembering that the Cheshire Cat mentioned the White Queen, I decided to give the Queen a second visit. I thought that I could easily replicate the route to her garden, having only recently been there. However, the more I walked, the more apparent it was that I was lost. I passed that tree to the right a handful of times already. I was going in circles, getting nowhere closer to that beautiful garden and its equally pretty owner. I let out a sigh and chose a bush at random to walk through instead of following a path. My cloak saved me from being scrushed by the leaves and branches of the bushes. I came out on the other side to a particularly tall tree and a large bird cage. I spotted the White Queen inside the birdcage. Behind her was a limb, a leg. She sat with a distressed expression as she looked up at my looming figure. Hello. We meet again, Alice. I hadn't expected that I would be trapped here again. I'm a little embarrassed that you're seeing me like this. I contemplated just asking for the leg and leaving. No, that would be a terribly foul thing to do, especially to a pretty person like her. Although in a way, it almost seemed like a good idea to leave a pretty bird locked up in a cage all for oneself. Load ideas. After all, how would you catch her if you let her go free? Is that the Queen's right leg? Or the Red Queen's right? Yeah, the Red Queen's right leg. So it would appear. To find the Red Queen, you may have to find her parts as well. Even so, she should be able to help you find your way back home. I'm sorry, Alice. Don't apologize. The key to my prison is atop the towering tree. Would you help me open this cage, Alice? Yes, of course. Agreeing to the request, I walked over to the tall tree that the White Queen gestured toward. How tall it was, I couldn't say. Excuse me. If I angled my head and squinted, I could see the glimmering of a silver key at a high branch above. I circled the tree, the front and the back, the sides, left and right. They all looked equally hard to climb. Elbow knees to pop and there we go. There we go. Sorry, sometimes my limbs get a bit too stiff and I realize that they're stiff and I'm like, I need them to stop being so stiff. And it distracts me from everything else. As I pondered on how to scale a tree, a little bird approached. It was fat and pink with beady eyes and a tiny black beak. Chirp, chirp. With all of the talking animals and not quite animals in Wonderland, I had an inkling that this one might speak as well. Perhaps it spoke French like a French bird. Bonjour? Bonjour! Unfortunately, I knew little French. My practice had grown rusty so much that the tutors would be ashamed, but I tried to pull out at least one more phrase. Où est ma chatte? Chirp? I must have said the wrong words, see, as the poor bird began to tremble. I don't know the first bit. Parlez vous anglais? Yes, yes. Chirp, chirp. Cats? No cats, please. What are you doing? What are you doing? Chirp, chirp. I'm trying to get the key up there. What are you doing, little bird? Chirp, just having lots of fun every day. Not doing anything in particular. Not doing anything in particular. Now that the Red Queen, I mean Her Majesty, is missing, Wonderland is so much more wonderful. We can play and frolic as we want. Chirp, chirp. Auntie Bird got in trouble for breaking Her Majesty's laws, and now there's no more Auntie Bird. Chirp, chirp. I was so sad, so sad. Her Majesty was so scary, so scary. You won't tell on me, right? Chirp. Chirp. You look like a nice person. Chirp. Much nicer than her, much nicer than her. Oh, I see. I'll help you with the key. Chirp. Puffing out its little chest, the bird flapped its wings and took off upward into the sky. It flew and flew and flew, but soon enough became tired. Not reaching the key on the tree, the bird faltered and fluttered back down. It dipped its head in disappointment. Sorry, I couldn't do it. Chirp. Those are some options. I will not kill the bird. Don't worry about it. I rubbed the little bird's head.
Starberry_moo has joined the library.
Hello! Welcome to the library! Ah! Always nice to meet another moo. As you can probably see, there are several content warnings up at the top of the screen, and I'm pretty sure we just avoided one of the possible things that would have led to that second bit.
No animal cruelty in this house.
Yeah, we'll try to avoid it. No guarantees. I rubbed the little bird's head, causing it to peek up at me with its large, round eyes glittering with surprise. After the failed first attempt at the key, I returned to the White Queen's side. She looked fitting in the cage, pretty like a flower preserved forever in glass. Again, I thought that she was beautiful. Really, she was beautiful. That's true, Alice. Even so, I couldn't let her stay trapped. Not to mention the Red Queen's leg. I wasn't able to find a way up. Do you have any ideas for what I should do, White Queen? Over there are some mushrooms. If you eat the ones to the left, you will grow. If you eat the ones to the right, you will shrink. Ah, the part of Alice in Wonderland that births many fetishes. I think they will be helpful. Magic mushrooms. Of a sort, man. Oh yeah. I don't actually smoke or get stoned or any of that, so I don't know. I was hesitant to eat mushrooms picked from unknown wilderness, but I felt that I could trust the White Queen. Why, I didn't know. Well, this is Wonderland, isn't it? Excuse me. I had forgotten something important. The feeling of forgetting tingled in the back of my mind whenever I saw the White Queen. Finding the mushrooms, she pointed out I faced a choice. There was a little yellow one with black spots and stem, and a large purple one with white spots and stem. Grow! I ate the left mushroom and immediately began to grow. My line of sight rose higher and higher as if I were a bean sprout. Once I stopped growing, I could reach the top of the towering tree if I reached out my arm. Fantastically, my clothes grew with me. Oh! I cautiously pinched the silver key and removed it from the tree, holding it lightly so as to not break it with my now giant hands. The key I now had, but the cage I could not open. I was much too big. The magic will wear off. In the meanwhile, would you accompany me to chat, Alice? That may be for the best. I would have to wait until I reverted back to my original size to open the door. Is the invitation for tea sometimes still open? Yes, always. Then shall I ask about what sorts of foods and tea you like to drink? And to see what I might expect. What's your favorite tea? White tea. Really? That's a little on the nose. Do you prefer black tea still? How did you know? We chatted for a while about tea, and at some point the conversation turned to flowers. Perhaps it was that she felt ambivalently on floral teas. You are welcome to visit the garden at any time. I couldn't find my way to the garden today. Perhaps getting lost had been for the better, as I found her in the end. Yes, that happens when I'm not there, but Wonderland should lead you my way if you think of me. At least for you, Alice. I have nowhere to be but the garden. She paused, looking at something in the distance that I could not see. Would you believe me if I told you I can see the future? I looked her in the eyes and ascertained a calm surety. I didn't feel that she would lie, yet I couldn't quite believe her words either. I wondered what I had forgotten, what I was doubting. Rather than answer, I decided to play along. Can you change the future you see? Why do you ask? Otherwise, isn't it lonesome? I don't believe that the future is predestined, but the solitude of such a power would also be the fate of a queen in this world. Her words sounded contradictory, even for the Red Queen. Especially for the Red Queen. The White Queen spoke of fate as if still trapped by something more than just this birdcage. I couldn't quite understand. We talked a bit longer. I felt a tingling up my arm and began to revert to my usual size. The world warped and finally popped back into its proper place. I twirled around to check that all was well. Identifying no issues, I picked up the key that I dropped to the ground at some point and inserted it into the lock of the White Queen's birdcage. The smooth click, cage unlocked. I opened the door. The White Queen stumbled out of the birdcage, her legs still wobbly from sitting in the cage for so long. She let me hold her steady till she rebalanced herself. Thank you. You're welcome. I ought to return to the garden now, but my invitation is always open, Alice. I'll see you later if you're willing. She handed me the Red Queen's leg. It was dressed in a black tight, the shoe red and tied to the ankle with a ribbon. Freed from the birdcage, the White Queen departed to return to her garden. After wandering around some more, I returned to the Hatter's place with a second limb in hand. The day came to an end, but the Hatter's clock remained at tea time. She was arguing with her own hand puppet about some sort of song, some rendition of Twinkle Twinkle. The hair on her hand was flung back and forth. I waited it out, seeing as she started laughing by herself halfway through. Apparently she couldn't sing. Her expression was a bit lonely. Once her shoulders stopped shaking, the Hatter turned to me. She gave me an awkward smile. Alice, you voyeur. I see you've brought a second one. That one is one, and this one is two. Good work. The Hatter clapped her wrists half a dozen times. Alice, won't you join us for tea again today? Hatter made scones. It has butter. Thank you for the invitation, Dormouse. A lonely but happy expression briefly flashed on the Hatter's face. Upon my response to the Dormouse, she immediately brightened up. If it would make the Hatter happy, I didn't see why not just play along. Leg! Setting aside her puppet friends, she extended an open palm toward me. I proceeded to commit les majestes. I have no idea how to pronounce that. My French is not that good. Yeah, it looks like French. I'm pulling this up on Google Translate. Yeah, it looks French. I know enough French to be like, yeah, that sure looks French. Doesn't have a translation.
Les Majestés.
Ooh, a little out there.
Les Majestés.
Les Majestés. Alright. I'll have to Google that later. I proceeded to commit Les Majestés by tossing the limb over the Hatter's tea table to her. I took a seat in my armchair, seeing her clumsily catch it in her arms. At my seat, there was already a cup of tea prepared. With her free hand, the Hatter opened up the dog cage and retrieved the other limb. Do you need any help with that? She winked. I have everything under control.
I see a slap happening.
Without another pause, the Hatter stuck the limbs onto the Red Queen's torso. The flesh sounded with a squelch as the muscle, skin, and bone began to knit into place. Still, a red line remained where the limbs connected. I took a bite of a scone. As the Hatter had said, it had butter. The Red Queen's incomplete body twitched, something squirming under the skin. Ew. I spread some clotted cream and jam onto the scone. The perfect blend of sweetness made me wonder where she got the jam. It was very red. Ow! The Hatter became disgruntled, frowning. A single arm grabbed at the Hatter, smacking as it squirmed. The Hatter kicked at the incomplete Red Queen, rendering it the limbed hunk of meat paralyzed with shock. The Hatter forced its limbs off. A bit of blood and something else dripped onto the ground. Gripping the writhing limbs in her hands, the Hatter popped open the dog cage with her feet and chucked them in. With a thud into the cage, the arm and leg went. Good scones. Thank you. You also mentioned you had some business with the Red Queen, Hatter, but what is it? Something to do with red, something to do with flesh. I realized that I didn't quite know. She gave a wide smile. A personal matter, Alice. I'd prefer you don't pry. I was the one gathering the pieces, so of course I wanted to know. Then again, the Hatter could just as well put the corpse together herself. The better question was how she obtained that first chunk of meat, but I doubt she would answer. I was curious. After all, not every Hatter keeps the Red Queen's dismembered body at their table, much less treats it like you do. The White Rabbit is searching for the Red Queen right now, you see. And the Red Queen is right here. At least part of her was. No one likes the White Rabbit. Why didn't you tell her, Alice? Well, I didn't feel like it. The White Rabbit was boring. I have a feeling that telling her anything about the corpse sitting with us wouldn't help me much. You saved me from the dungeon. That dark, dank place, a hat's not enough for the cold. Dungeons here aren't for keeping, but for killing. I see. Let's command Les Majestés together. Surely the Red Queen will forgive us for piecing her together. If they're gonna keep fucking mentioning it, I'm fucking googling it. Les The insulting of a monarch or other ruler. Treason. Okay. Okay. I much preferred this, Mad Hatter. No, no, Alice. This is much closer to blasphemy. We have no choice but to beg the wrathful God for forgiveness, don't you know? I couldn't help but think of Osiris, the judge of the dead, cut to pieces by his own brother. Oh, I love that story. Like, legitimately. Even a god king, rather a god queen, could be chopped up and rendered helpless. The tutors would be proud of me for remembering. Is that so? It'll be good working with you, Hatter. I offered a hand to shake. Seeing her hesitation, I expected her to reject my outstretched hand, but she instead grabbed my finger with an expression filled with uncertainty. I thought that she would try to pull my finger off. However, she only gripped me weakly and shook it up and down before letting go once more. She was a bit gloomier for the time after. Night fell and another day ended. What did I dream of? I must have forgotten. Only 2 more limbs and a head remained. I continued on my adventure to collect the Red Queen so that I could finally meet her and find a way back home. Step, step, step. I walked around this upside-down world. In between my explorations of Wonderland, I chatted with the Hatter, and she made a certain inquiry. What do you want to go back home for? Or what? What do you want to go back to at home? Sorry. Don't know how I misread that. What indeed? Alice, Alice, what was waiting for you at home? I counted off my fingers. 2 sisters, 2 cats, a large, empty home, books, and tutors. With my sisters, Lori and Eddie, I was not particularly close. The older Lorena and the younger Edith, intelligent Lorena, and precocious Edith. They seemed to live in their own world apart from Alice. I preferred the cats, a white cat and a black cat. The former was cute, a little beauty like the White Queen, and the latter a devil. As for the books, our library seemed endless. We had so many books that I could drown. Maybe a pile had collapsed onto me and I was dying, suffocating on the pages so terribly that I fell into Wonderland. The tutors would be so mad that the books were ruined. I winced at a phantom stinging the back of my legs. The poor ruler, I could already see it go red. Jesus Christ! That was my world, a boring, normal, plain world where animals didn't talk and corpses didn't move, where I hadn't needed to think of much at all. I was Alice and that place was Alice's place. I fiddled with my fingers, grasping for the correct expression to wear. Excuse me. A smile was always safe. I'll be off then. Step, step, step. I traversed about this place, which was not Alice's place, my place. Once again, I was in the forest in the daytime. Damn it. I was walking around searching for clues for where the next limbs or even head could be when I heard the sound of a conversation. I followed the noise and found the oddest pair, a rabbit and cat. The rabbit seemed upset. On the contrary, the cat was grinning deviously. Ask the Hatter. The rabbit made an indignant smile. Hatter? That Mad Hatter? She's more cuckoo than a bird. A real nuisance. The only silver lining is see how now that Rat and Hare are out of the way, she's become more of a recluse. I beg your pardon?
Obviously, the puppets aren't the original puppet, the originals.
Oh, no. My ears are still ringing from that time we had to pull peasants off the street to sing for royal guests. She sneered. The courts have stopped working, the kingdom's falling into anarchy. We've got filth on the ground left and right. Up and down, too. The rabbit became angry. Shut up, you damn cat. You fucking criminal pretending to be a cat. If we weren't so busy, I'd send the cars to chain you up and throw you back into the dungeon where you belong. The cat grinned as she taunted the rabbit. Scary threats from a rabbit. Listen up, your name's still on top of the list for execution, cat. Don't think you can do whatever you want. Now I've got to... Alice! The white rabbit made a puking sound. The blood drained from her face when she met my eyes. She looked terrified. The Cheshire jeered. Hello. Did I interrupt a conversation? No, not at all. Hello, Alice. I hope we weren't talking too loud. The cat and I were just making some small talk. How have you been? Well enough, and you? Well enough as well. Well, what about me? Well, are you well? It depends. I'm Cat. The cat's punchline met silence. Are you two friends? The rabbit frowned. No. The cat grinned. Yes. Our circles rarely overlap. We only happened to meet and talk today by coincidence. The cat made a mock frown. I'm hurt, Bunny. I thought we were friends. Cheshire Cat, please refrain from giving me unsolicited nicknames. Oh, You're no fun, White Rabbit. The cat smiled. Bunny, you two seem to get along. No, not really. They didn't seem to get along at all. I just liked how the White Rabbit thought that she could lie straight to my face about what they were talking about before. Lie, lie, lie. That was all. That was what the Queen's courtiers ought to do. Hilarious. After a short three-way chat, the White Rabbit pulled me to the side for a private conversation. I have an invitation for you, Alice. The White Rabbit reached into her coat, retrieving an envelope from an inner pocket. She held it out to me. The Duchess has invited you to her endless party. If you're interested in attending, it is and will always be held at her manor. I took the outstretched invitation. When is it? She gave a smile. On and on and on indefinitely. Ever since Her Majesty has gone missing, the Duchess has been holed up in her manor, holding a grand ball day and night. So I guess you could say that she's got the biggest ball of them all. Doesn't really work in the singular. If I didn't know better, I would think that she was celebrating. The rabbit frowned as she looked into the distance. But she wouldn't be so foolish. I see. Thank you for the invitation. Tracing an oddly familiar wax seal upon the envelope, I filled with the invitation in my hand. I wondered where I'd seen it before. The rabbit smiled. I live to serve, Alice. What a relief. A burden is lifted off my shoulders now that this invitation is delivered. If it pleases you to attend, I hope you have an enjoyable time. The Duchess certainly knows how to throw parties. And the nobility of Wonderland how to party. I tucked the invitation away. The rabbit smiled, a distant look in her eyes. Is there anything else? Her attention returned to me. No, that is all. I won't bother you any further. Please excuse me, Alice, and have a nice day. Bowing her head a few times, she made her way away, and soon was out of sight. And off she goes. Cat's eyes narrowed with a grin. We were talking about something too. That White Rabbit, she only cares about the Mad Queen. Her grin became mischievous. I've got a little secret about the Red Queen. Just a bit of gossip. You want to hear? Certainly. I was in a bit of a slump trying to find the rest of the Red Queen. The first two pieces came along quite easily, as if delivered on a silver platter, but now I had to find some more clues. I waited for the cat to speak again, glancing at her flickering tail. She gestured for me to come closer. When I moved in, she flicked me sharply on the forehead, causing me to recoil in surprise and stumble back. I never said I would say. Try finding me later, Alice. Before I could respond to her provocation, she disappeared into thin air, leaving a grin floating before me for a short moment more. That is, if you can. With a flicker, the grin too vanished. What did that rabbit call her again, Alice? Yay! The Cheshire Cat always gets the best characterization in adaptations of Alice in Wonderland. It's always my favorite character. I ran my fingers through my bangs and sighed. Looking around, I was alone on my search again. On the one hand, lesbian kitty cat. That's tempting. On the other, new character. Kitty cat time. I returned to the path. I couldn't leave the cat's matter alone. Thinking of her taunting flick, I had no idea where she could be, for she always appeared and disappeared as she pleased. I returned to the endless tea party. I had a quick chat with the Hatter to find out, "Are you acquainted with the Cheshire Cat?" The Hatter's eyes narrowed. Cheshire? The Hatter moved Dormouse as if she were upset. She's scary. The Hatter moved the March Hare as if he were exasperated. Always stays up in the trees. The Hatter smiled as she spoke. She's usually around the northern end of the forest. The cat always says she has business, so she can't stay for tea. Even though I never invited her? The Hatter grinned. Yes, we're acquaintances, but definitely not friends. If you're looking for that cat, don't bring her back here. We're low on seats as it is. And then she sneered. Next thing you'll know, you'll have to be chopped up to fit in a teapot. What? Ah! A trio of one gave me a jaunty wave. Taking the Hatter's words, I started off to explore the forest's north. I walked down many twists and turns, stumbling across uneven ground. The path was rougher here and the foliage thicker. I found not another living being in sight, no cats nor others. After a while, I reached a place with two signs pointing opposite directions. One read a cliff, the other not a cliff. I let out a chuckle that they were very straightforward. I let out a chuckle that they were straightforward enough signs, but I couldn't see where they led past bushes blocking beyond their arrows. Ding-a-ling. The ring of a small bell entered my ears, followed by the clatter of metal shackles. Cheshire Cat. I received no response. Accompanying me here was only the breeze that would sometimes hit the leaves of the trees around me. I heard a soft rustling noise, but when I looked toward the sound, I saw nothing. I tilted my head to look further upward, and the world shifted. The air was pushed out of my lungs. A black and orange blur crashed down on me with great momentum from the sky, slamming me into the ground. If my head had hit a different way, my skull would have been a cracked egg on the ground. I moved just in time to harshly bang my shoulder instead. I thought I'd get it done in one shot. The blur of the Cheshire Cat filled my spinning field of view. The She wrapped both hands around my neck, digging in with her sharp nails. Her left arm flickered in and out of existence as if it wasn't really there, creating an unbalanced pressure around my throat. Her grip tightened, drawing blood. I couldn't breathe. She squeezed even tighter. I tried to pry her fingers off with my own. My twitching hands clawed at her constricting grip and even scratched my own neck. More than the pain of the flesh wounds, I was going lightheaded from the lack of air. I just barely forced her off my neck. I wheezed, coughing to catch a breath. She grabbed my collar, grip on the left, flickering in and out, and slammed me back to the ground after lifting me up a little. What? I couldn't even ask why she was doing this as vertigo overwhelmed me. Kicking and flailing randomly, I managed to push her off for a moment. I had to reorient myself, get to my feet, just roll away from her somehow. Which way? Cliff. I tumbled through the bushes in a direction labeled as a cliff. The signs around here had nonsense written on them many times more than not. As I expected, my chosen direction had no cliff in sight. I shakily got to my feet and watched the cat do so as well. She immediately lunged at me again. This time, I was more prepared. I kneed her in the stomach as she approached, grabbing her right shoulder and twisting it while hooking my foot on hers. Forcing her arm down, I heard a slight cracking noise and made her fall to the ground with a thump. Just in case, I kicked her away a bit. Her body was light, like a cat. I'm waiting for an explanation. She started to fade away, but I stepped on her before she could get away. After a quick struggle, she relented and got up to her feet without any further fading. The cat snarled, dusting off her body. The Cheshire Cat frowned. I hadn't realized who you were before. My cloak may have a hood, but you've seen my face many times already, Cheshire Cat. She scowled. Wonderland's twisted up in time. She jeered. That sort of logic doesn't work here. It's mad. All mad. You might be Alice, but who is Alice? Now that's the question we have to ask. Her lips curled in a mocking smile. To start with, you don't know anything. Do you even know who you are, Alice? I'm Alice. That is all. That was my sole truth. She returned to a frown, deep in thought. But who in the world is Alice? An outsider? A temporary visitor? I've just about figured out the most important part. If you figured it out, I don't suppose you'd tell me? You are... She grimaced in pain. She pressed her hand against her head. Then she took on a jeer. Somehow you're much too similar to the Mad Queen. Oh, about that Mad Queen. You've been looking for her, but let me tell you this. She's been dead for a while now. Although, I think you should already know. She scowled. I can't put it into words for some reason. Maybe it's just the way you look at the world, but you're definitely the same type of person. In which way? Are you just trusting some gut feeling, some delusion that I might be the same as someone whom I've never met? Or as you say, someone who is long dead? She stared at me with determination. This world can't afford another Red Queen, not even the chance of one. She vanished, taking the chance in our conversation. Criminals needed to be locked up. I looked all around, hearing the faintest sound of her shackles telling me that she was nearby, but I could not see her actual presence. So why don't you do me a favor, Alice? Just go ahead and die. Her voice danced through the air formlessly. You have no qualification to enact your form of justice, Cat. That really is just like her to say. She appeared behind me and attacked again. We fell to the ground to tussle once more. She clawed me a few times, but I gradually gained the advantage. The cat favored her right arm. Rather, her left arm acted transient, coming in and out of existence, forcing her to avoid relying on it. Her handicap forced her to falter more than my now numb shoulder did me. She fought like an animal. To be fair, she was an animal. Biting, clawing, and all the likes. She came at me with the intent to kill. We continued till we were both bloodied and bruised. I punched her straight in the face, causing her to bite her tongue and choke up a mouthful of red. Her head bounced on the ground, throwing her next moves into disarray. I hit the cat again, and again. Doing this with my bare hands wasn't exhilarating as much as it was just a matter of fact. I had decided that I preferred this nuisance out of my hair. Ah! I don't like this route. I noticed that her right arm was stitched on.
Warning!
Yeah, probably. Her arm felt familiar, as if it didn't belong to the Cheshire Cat. Alice, that cat was also a thief. I wanted that arm. Ask for it. That arm doesn't belong to you. Give it back, Cheshire Cat. Why should I? I ask politely because I would prefer you let part with it on your own terms. If I must, I will take more drastic measures. The cat squirmed under me, but I forced her down, sitting atop her body. I have no intention of staying in Wonderland. My current adventures through this world are entirely to find a way back to my own world. As such, Cheshire, if you would hand over the arm, then we should have no further interactions. I will endeavor not to meet with you again unless it has to do with my way home. I can't fight anymore. The tension left her muscles, signaling to me that she had given up. She let out a scornful bark like a laugh as she acquiesced. Fine, I'll give you the arm. So get off. She made a weak motion as if to push me off. No, give me the arm first. Fine. Bruised, black and blue, bloody from our brawl. The Cheshire Cat twitched her stolen arm, looking at it hesitantly as if unwilling to lose it. She shook her head. A faint cracking noise from her neck made her let out a whine of pain. She nudged her cape closer to her face and bit into it. Then, with a flickering left arm, body twisted in an odd position under me, she tore the arm off her own body with a slow and bloody rip. I heard the oddest sounds of flesh being rent from flesh. Through the cape came muffled groans. Tears glittered in her eyes. After what seemed like eternity, the cat chucked the removed arm to the side. Blood dripped out of the stump from which the limb was removed. The limb, too, made a crimson mess on the grass. Is that enough for you, Alice? I nodded. Now get off. I stood up from the cat, feeling a wave of dizziness hit me along with a throbbing headache. Adrenaline's wearing off. She rolled over in pain and started pushing herself up, stumbling, falling a number of times onto the grass with an ugly red splat. Finally, limping to her feet, the Cheshire Cat vanished. Now there was no more Cheshire Cat. I picked up the severed right arm. The limb appeared different now that it was detached from the cat. It more resembled his fellow limbs, sans a regal torn sleeve. The broken shackle about its wrist fell off without me having to do a thing. Alice, did you recognize this arm? Yes, I answered. This was the Red Queen's arm. A jolt of pain burst through my head. I did not know why I knew, and amidst my agony I did not have the heart to care. I stumbled, clutching my head. The world warped and blurred around me. I felt dizzy looking at this distorted landscape. Or perhaps my dizziness itself distorted the landscape into an undulating thing that made me want to vomit. As my adrenaline drained, the results of the fight began to show themselves. My whole body felt sore, the raging headache pounding at my skull would not subside. Black and red began to fill my vision. Oh. Ground shifted beneath my feet. Maybe. Falling. Alice was falling. My world turned to darkness and all I heard was laughter. Thump. Okay. It's been over 2 hours at this point. I'm going to take a quick, let's say 10-minute break, because my water bottle's getting low, and this shit, it's hard on the throat. I'm not used to talking a lot. I literally just hydrated and emptied my water bottle, rather. Opposite thing. Alright, I'm going to take a 10-minute break, fill my water bottle, Excuse me. All y'all go grab a snack or drink if you need them. Take a bio break if you have to. Blanking on the third thing. Stretch. Make sure you stretch. Sitting down for long periods of time can cause pain in your joints. And I will see you all back in 10. Welcome back. I slowly opened my bleary eyes to the sky. It was a starry night sky. A terrible headache battered my skull. I felt as if I had forgotten something very important. So disoriented I had no idea where I was. I patted around me and noticed that I still had the limb I just retrieved with me. My head hurt. Hearing footsteps, I pushed myself up to a sitting position and saw her. Looking around, I found out that I was at the Hatter's place. Ah. I started to talk only for my throat to feel like sandpaper. Oh, hey, I'm intimately familiar with that. with that feeling. Each time I blinked, my eyelids grew heavy again. A chill ran through my whole body. Uncomfortable, that was all I could say I felt. Although I'd experienced quite a bit since coming to Wonderland, oh god, that isn't caught in the stream. I forgot to turn off the overlay! Yay! Certainly, that fight with the cat had battered me up. Don't speak, Alice. You're burning up, so no tea for you today. It must have still been tea time, for it was always tea time. However, today the Hatter decided to put the tea aside, even at tea time, for the sick me. She brought a cup of water to my lips, tilting it for me to drink. I drank and choked. Coughing and sputtering, I felt her wipe away the water that had spilled. If you drink too quickly, you'll drown. She handed me the cup directly, fingers just barely avoiding mine, but also grasping the cup firmly till she knew that I wouldn't drop it. Drink water slowly, Alice. I've got to get something off of the stove. Seeing that I had the cup in hand, she hopped off in the direction of the stove. I thought back to when we first met. That time, the thing on the stove had been a hammer, so I hoped that she would bring back something more pleasant. I sipped from the water cup and waited, setting it aside once I finished. She returned with a bowl of porridge in hand. Oh, that's much worse than the hammer.
What? Fuck you, that's food!
Sitting down next to me, she scooped up a spoonful of porridge and blew it lightly to cool it down. As the porridge temperature settled, she moved the spoon toward my mouth. Excuse me. I instinctively opened my mouth like a baby bird. I can eat myself. I would rather you not cannibalize yourself. She fed me porridge, spoonful by spoonful. Once the porridge was finished, she put the bowl away and gave me another cup of water. While letting me sip the water, she wiped away the sweat on my forehead. You're good at taking care of people. Really? I've never quite had... My words drifted off into silence as I thought back to what little I had to say about taking care of others and being taken care of. Hatter, the limb. I'll put it away for you. You know me so well, Hatter, and... I could barely keep my eyes open. Rest well. Damn it. Ah. The Hatter placed a cool, trembling hand on my forehead. Then into the realm of hypnos I fell. Again with the mythology references. After a few days of good rest under the Hatter's care, I recovered to full health. I haven't been so sick in years. Thank you, Hatter. What for? Don't linger too long at this crowded place. Off you go. Don't you have some body parts left to find, Alice? So I do. Seeing me once more healthy, she shooed me away. I was back on that forest path. The Red Queen was nearly assembled, missing only her head and a fourth limb. Onward I continued with my search, so that she could send me home. I took out the invitation that the White Rabbit had delivered to me. Running my fingers against the paper of the envelope, and the imprint on the wax seal, some sort of animal, I tore the invitation open. Inside, I found a card and read it to myself. Alice, the Duchess requests the honor of your presence at her ball. Today, tomorrow, time eternal. The Duchess Estate, the Manor. You are required to bring a companion. Flipping the card over, I noticed something of a crudely drawn map. I followed the lines on the map and somehow pinpointed where I was in relation to the manor. I held nothing to bring to a party, nor did I have a readily available guest. I pondered about whether I should go or not, seeing as... Seeing as that I could put it off indefinitely, but with the Red Queen's part still missing, perhaps someone there would know. The Duchess should have been close to the Queen, for example. That, at least, the tutors had mentioned. As for the +1, my mind wandered to my few human acquaintances in Wonderland. Only really got two options here. I returned to the Hatter, who was having her usual tea time, and invited her. Hatter, won't you accompany me to a ball? She sneered. I rather won't. She glared at me with that displeased smile. Alice, did you have to request it that way? I'll trade you a favor for a favor. If you'll come to the ball with me, I can do something for you. Take some pity, Alice has no friends. No friends, no pets, no siblings, no one, none. Do favors have flavor like butter? Always butter with the freaking March hair. I would say I have at least one of the above. What sort of favor would you offer me, Alice? A limb, a tongue, a heart. Alice, you don't have anything that I want that I can't get myself. She momentarily grinned ordinarily. A cuppa for your sandwich, Alice. Here's the salt. I passed her the pepper as she slid the salt and a cup of tea over to me. Fiddling with the salt container, I tasted a spoonful of humiliation atop my tongue. I have no friends. She says she has no friends. She really has no friends. The Hatter pouted. I have no friends. What am I? March's favorite old buttersticks. Her glare bored into me. Well, if you would. If you would. She says it. I would really rather not. A hatter doesn't matter around the nobles who just like the flatter. I'm no good with nobles, after all, I'm just a hatter. For a second, her voice dipped. Her expression became somber. Hatter is better off here, all alone. I barely heard the hatter's low words. She sneered again. It's also still tea time! How we can go off to a ball when we've yet to finish afternoon tea? She stirred her tea, watching as I slumped into my seat and played with the salt. Then the hatter gave me a lonely look. But I rather appreciate you. My heart skipped a beat. Why, Alice, just why did you find that slight smile somewhat charming? Clink. The sound of my teaspoon hitting against the rim of my cup broke me out of my thoughts. I looked down. Putting the cup to my mouth, I took a sip and found that I put salt into my tea. Terrible. She smiled. I'll accompany you, Alice. When is the ball? Anytime. The hatter sneered. It's not very nice of you to say it's not tea time here, then. Not very good of you to be biased against tea time, don't you know? We finished off our tea and sandwiches. After a few more sips, I sneakily dumped the salted tea behind my armchair. The hatter put the dormouse and March hare away. After lingering at the tea table for a few moments longer, we got up to leave. She waved goodbye to the puppets, hesitant as if he is scared of leaving this place. Then we used the shoddy map on the back of the invitation card to find our way to the Duchess' palace. After a walk, we arrived at the manor. It resembled a large white castle towering against the day's sky with pointed roofings. The hatter shook her legs as if just that bit of walking had tired her out. Then again, the bags under her eyes conveyed that she hadn't slept well for a while. The guards stopped us at the entrance. Please show your invitation card. I handed the guard the card. He looked it over, glancing at me and the hatter before returning it to me. The guard gestured and he led us inward a few steps through the entranceway. To enter, guests must provide an arm. The arm will be returned to you whenever you wish to leave the party. An arm, a limb. The guard nodded. Please provide an arm. Uncharacteristically, the hatter said nothing the entire time to the guard. She warily looked at his sheathed sword and shuffled behind me. You may not enter without providing an arm. This guard was getting annoying, repetitive. Please provide an arm. Would this arm suffice? I extended my own arm to the guard, goading him to take it. If an arm the entrance required, then an arm I would provide. The guard nodded, leading us to the side and having me keep the arm outstretched above a table. He retrieved a clean... Nope, we're going back a bit. Off of the Red Queen's arm. Nope. I crossed my arms and tapped my feet as the guard repeated his blocking words a handful of times more. While the thought of offering my own limb came up, I decided against it. As such, we needed to find another arm to give. While I'm loath to suggest this, we do have a spare arm back at the tea table. Her Majesty surely wouldn't mind, don't you think? Yes, indeed. She had no tongue to speak otherwise. With that, we made a trip back to the Hatter's place. The Hatter hopped over to the dog cage we had set by the Red Queen. Popping it open, she pulled out a severed arm and quickly slammed the door shut. The limb flailed in the Hatter's hands till she unceremoniously tossed it to me. This was the Red Queen's arm. Yes, this arm donned in a torn, stained, regal red sleeve with black ruffles. The Hatter sneered. I never quite thought that I would accompany Her Majesty to a ball. It gives me shivers. To me, it felt so obvious that this was the Red Queen's arm. I wonder if someone will recognize the arm. We could certainly be in a good deal of trouble. And I would prefer not to have the troubles of getting the arm back if someone tried to take it away. They won't with Wonderland. They wouldn't want to recognize it anyhow. I've been here for a while, but still this logic fascinates me. Wonderland. We took a tea break. According to the Hatter, it was still tea time after all. The Hatter gave me a lonely look. Shall we go on to the ball, m'lady? Although I'm afraid I've got no pumpkin carriage nor glass slippers for you. She winked and grinned. You're charming enough as is. Lead the way, Alice. Arm in hand, we returned to the Duchess Manor. The guard greeted us with the same phrases, asking for an arm as the entrance fee, to which we responded by handing over the arm that we had retrieved. He glanced at both of us, noting that neither of us were missing a limb. The guard handed it off to a servant, who put it into a sealed box and took it away for safekeeping nonetheless. You may enter, esteemed guests. We arrived at the Duchess Ballroom. The floor was wide open and remarkably polished. Golden chandeliers hung above, the light reflecting against the floor. A few chairs sat between the large, rounded windows. A painting sat on the furthest wall. Excuse me. Ah! Although the hostess was nowhere to be found, servants milled around the floor with refreshments for the guests. The quartet performed to the front. Food sat at the tables to the sides of the room. All around were faceless people dressed up like clowns. Those don't look like clown outfits to me. Faceless people. They were uninteresting people. They sent a few glances our way as we came without much fanfare. Already I didn't like them. Perhaps it was their beady, pig-like eyes. For all that they were faceless, I saw only clowns and swine. I approached the group, thinking to gain some information. Hello. Hello to you as well. The guests seemed wary upon seeing me, but showed a displeased reaction upon laying eyes on the Hatter, who had reluctantly followed me along. And the peasant, which one was it? Ah, the one with the vermin! Oh, your little raggedy friends. The rat and the hare. The Red Queen's little pet was happy to see them gone. The rabbit's always been like that. Rather than the rutting, she likes the cutting. An animal in such position, I really do not approve. Her Majesty likes it. Well, she's gone now. Shouldn't say that. Speak of the devil and she will come. Devil indeed. It is a shame that the White Queen's always been a fool. Pretty bird, but as a ruler. The Red Queen liked her well enough, and certainly from the rumors she's done something quite pleasant. For us, you mean. Don't jinx it. The group stage whispered amongst themselves as they pointed to the Hatter, like they were looking at a spectacle. The Hatter at the time was simply staring off into space. Is that lunatic glaring at us? This is the problem with peasants. It's staring at us. My, how uncomfortable. I can't believe the thing rolls around with the animals. Tut tut, the animals are all gone. That's the least that Her Majesty has done for us in her petty red reign of petty red reign. Now let's get away from the filth. The stench of vermin is unbearable. I must ask the Duchess about who can be let into her ballroom. A servant passed by with a tray full of champagne. One of the guests removed 2 flutes from the tray and offered me one with a slur in her words. Have some alcohol. Did you have some business with us? No. I shook my head and turned away. Drinks should be shared only in pleasant company. Let's take our leave from these people, Hatter. Chitter chatter, chitter chatter. I noticed the other guests making snide comments on the Hatter and giving her the side-eye while stepping back from me of all people. Saying those things to my person, someone who was mine, my Hatter, they deserved punishment, capital or otherwise. That was right, Alice. What a shame that I had no such power. The Hatter looked rather upset. We moved to the sides where the food was, seeing as few people lingered by refreshments for long. The 2 of us picked up some cakes and snacks. A smile finally came to her face while we ate, albeit a sad one. Excuse me. As I tasted it, I couldn't help but feel that the Hatter made better food. A tingly sensation spread through my body as I ate. Hatter... What is this? My voice changed pitches as I talked. At one moment I sounded squeaky as a mouse, and the next as low as an elephant. The Hatter grinned. Me too. Nope, not.
No judging this.
No. Playing with the odd refreshments, we found ourselves speaking like animals. Meow. Woof. Meow meow. Woof woof woof. I wonder what she said. She looked so pleased, as if she had made the world's greatest joke that had just gone unheard. Next we tried the pudding. Discomfort filled my heart, as if something dirty was coming out with each pulse, with each squeeze of the ventricle, pushing blood through the aorta. The Hatter looked a bit upset. She began to frown. I hate this. She frowned even deeper. I hate you. I don't know how I deal with a bedlamite dog like you. The Hatter sneered. I really, really, really hate you. It's Red, the Red's fault. I'll kill. They're dead, so I'm alone. The Hatter blocked her words and stuffed a cookie into her mouth. She looked rather flustered. Woof. What needs to be done has to be done, but once it's done, we should certainly purge. It's been such a long time. I've got to punish that little bird. And your head will make a good decoration. There's not a worthy soul inside. You're a lunatic and a fool. Putting a hand over my mouth and clenching my jaw, I shut up as well till the distortion in my heart disappeared. The Hatter frowned for a moment. I didn't mean to say any of that. The pudding must have twisted our words. The Hatter smiled. I as well. I nodded to Alice. As we experienced the strange food, the other guests continued to mingle and dance. This was a ball, so ball things they did. The music stopped along with the chatter. It was at this time that the Duchess made her appearance. She was a featureless woman who hid her face. Instinct told me that she was ugly, yet I could not see anything, not disfigurement nor beauty. She existed as the Duchess, but could not be seen. She was only perceived. Tonight we have a special gift to be given to a single guest. She gestured, and a servant behind her came up with an item hidden under red cloth. A hushed whispering ran through the ballroom as everyone guessed at what could be hidden underneath that. Wait. Okay, sorry, the syntax threw me off a bit. As everyone guessed at what could be hidden underneath that would make the Duchess consider it special. We are holding a chess tournament, the usual game that ends when the king has fallen, even here where the king has long gone. Of course, the winner will receive the prize. The servant removed the cloth. All around, the guests let out a collective gasp. What, you may ask? Why, it could only be our dearest Majesty's leg. There was a severed leg. The Red Queen's left leg. From the looks of the limb, it could fit perfectly onto the torso's stump sitting at the Hatter's place. Like the previous leg, it too was dressed in a black tight and adorned with a red shoe that had a red ribbon. May the best strategist win. The Duchess clapped. Servants began to move out, setting up tables and chess sets in a matter of minutes. With a match list created, the tournament started. As I made my moves with Hatter, I thought back to all the chess I had played for the tutors. They would be relieved that at least I hadn't forgotten anything and everything. Losing each time had been a painful ordeal, so I too was glad that I remembered. The Hatter had a brilliant strategic mind. I watched as she flung her queen into a crowd of pawns only for it to be eaten alive. She had a twisted smile on her face as she did so. Most of the time. We made our ways to the finals, where we met with the last opponent not at a table, but in a cleared out space in the ballroom with a large chessboard overlaid. The Hatter was grinning. The last opponent was the Duchess. Around her lined up stood 1 1/3 soldiers dressed up in black like chess pieces. What is this? Why, human chess. Ah, I thought I remembered something like that. Chess is an imitation of bloody war. In this land without war, we must take steps to make life more interesting. That is what our dearest Majesty proclaimed. One of you two have to take the role of a piece, and otherwise I will provide the other pieces for you to play with. I exchanged glances with the Hatter. Even now I couldn't understand what went on in those eyes, but I had already decided. Maybe I didn't want to see her potentially get hurt, as no one here cared for the life of a Hatter. Oddest otter, what a thought to have. I rather liked her. I will take the role of a piece. You know what? I think that's a good place to call it for today. Excuse me. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I will be back again tomorrow with presumably We Know the Devil. Maybe we'll be able to finish all 4 routes in the course of the stream. Maybe we'll only get a couple done. Who knows? And who knows if something might come along that I'll want to play more all of a sudden. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the game. It is available for free if you wish to play yourself. I'll also be back on Saturday and Sunday for either DMC, like the original Devil May Cry, assuming I don't get something else to come along and distract me from We Know the Devil, in which case I may end up playing We Know the Devil on Saturday instead. And Sunday, right, I mentioned it earlier in the stream, we will be playing Heart of the Woods, a game published by the same studio and actually produced by the publisher, Studio Elan, who does a lot of very good lesbian visual novels. Both the producing and the publishing. Until whenever I see you next, my beautiful, beautiful patrons, bon lecture.